Hello students. In this video we will start with the chapter Substances in Common Use. Now in our day-to-day life we use many different types of substances. For example, we use table salt, soap, toothpaste, baking soda, water, alum, iron, etc. and etc. Now some substances can be organic, some can be inorganic. Some substances are also made up of ionic compounds which do not have the H plus and the OH minus ions, and they only contain the cations and anions, and these are usually called as the simple salt. There are also inorganic substances. Now even if we talk about sea, so in sea also there are many different substances which are dissolved in it. There are different salts which are dissolved in it, like there is sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, manganese, potassium chloride, calcium carbonate, magnesium bromide, etc. and etc. All these salts are together mixed into the seawater, and that is why the seawater tastes very salty, and it is also very heavy because of many of these salts. So in this chapter we are going to learn about few different types of salt, few different substances, some radioactive substances, and what are the different chemicals that we use in our day-to-day life. Now the substances that we use in our day-to-day life, these can be classified into metals, non-metals, acid, bases and salts. There are few properties that we have already studied in our previous classes, that how we can classify these substances. There are few physical and chemical properties to classify between acid and bases, between metals and non-metals, and between the salts. So we can use all these properties that you have learned, and you can classify them into metals and non-metals. For example, if it is strong, it is hard. If it is malleable, it is a metal. If it is brittle, it is not a metal, it is a non-metal. If it is an acid, it will be having a very sour taste. If it is a base, it will be slippery, it will be like soap. And if it is a salt, we all know it will be salty to taste, it will have the chemical composition of salts. So this way we classify them into metals, non-metals, acid, bases and salt. Now this is an activity for you all. These are few substances which are given here. What you all have to do is you all have to classify these substances into acid, bases, metals, non-metals and salt. Pause the video and classify the substances according to their properties. So let us start with our first topic in the chapter, that is important salts in our day-to-day life. That is the salts that we use in our daily life, like table salt or any other salts that we use in our day-to-day life. Now these are ionic compounds, and as we all know, ionic compounds do not have H plus or OH minus ions, and instead of that they contain cations and anions, and that is why they are called as the simple salts. Now before moving towards the type of salts, let us first understand the pH scale of different types of salt. So last year you have studied about the pH scale, and the pH scale of salt is 7. Now those salts who's having the pH 7, they are considered as the salt which is made from strong acid and a strong base. So that is why their pH is 7. Okay, then there are other salts also. For example, if the pH value of salt made from a strong acid and a weak base will be less than 7, and it is considered as acidic. And also if the pH value of salt is made from a weak acid and a strong base, then it is considered as basic, and it is having pH more than 7. So you have to understand this, that if the pH is 7, so it is made from strong acid and a strong base. If pH is less than 7, so it is made from strong acid and a weak base. And if the pH is more than 7, it is made from weak acid and a strong base. So this is how we have neutral, acidic and basic salt also. So the first example of salt that we are going to learn is sodium chloride. That is the table salt, the normal salt that you use at home. So if you see a table salt, if you look at it, it is colorless. It does not have any color. Also, it is crystalline and it is made from ionic compounds. So that is, there is an ionic bond between Na and Cl. Now from the word sodium chloride, that is the chemical name of the salt. So sodium is for Na and chloride is for Cl. So this is how the chemical name of sodium chloride came, because of the components, that is Na and Cl. Now this salt is neutral, that is the pH is 7 and it is salty in taste. Also, this salt is made from a neutralization reaction, that is between HCl and NaOH. So when hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, they combine together, there is a neutralization reaction in it, and the byproduct that we get is, that is NaCl. So this is how NaCl is formed, that is the table salt which we use in our home for the taste purpose. Now, there are few properties of salts, one of which is that when you heat the salt at a very, very high temperature, so it starts to melt. That is because it is present in the fused state, and that fused state starts to melt. So this is called as the fused state of the salt. Then the fused state is also electrolyzed. Chlorine gas is released at the anode and liquid sodium metal is released at the cathode. So when you electrolyze it, so you can even see different types of gases coming out from the two electrodes, that is cathode and anode. Second salt that we are going to study is sodium bicarbonate, that is baking soda. Now you all must have seen your mother uses baking soda to make dhoklas or bread or cake. Even sometimes baking soda is added when we are making bhajiyas to give them a crispy taste. That is why we add bhajiyas, because it becomes crispy because of the baking soda. So baking soda is usually used in food, and the chemical name of baking soda is NaHCO3. So as you can see here in the picture, we have Na, that is sodium, we have an hydrogen group, we have a carbon and 3 oxygen in it. So this is the formula of baking soda. Now, baking soda, that is sodium bicarbonate, it is used in many places. Okay, so it is firstly used in to make bhajiyas to give crispy texture to the food. Next, it can also be used in dhoklas to give fluffiness to it. It can also be used to reduce the acidity of the stomach. Now, why it is used to reduce the acidity? Because sodium bicarbonate is basic in nature, and as it is basic in nature, it can be used to reduce acidity, because basicity reduces the acidity. Now this sodium bicarbonate, it is also used sometimes in the fire extinguishers. Okay, so the carbon dioxide gas is there. In further, we also have a topic, that is how fire extinguishers have the carbon dioxide gas. So this baking soda, that is sodium bicarbonate, is also used to activate the substance in the carbon dioxide in the fire extinguishers. Now, the baking soda is also sometimes used to clean the oven. You must have seen in few hack videos that they add baking soda into the oven if it is very dirty, and then they clean the oven with the help of these baking soda. So as it is basic in nature, so for these purposes we can use baking soda. Now our third substance or the salt is bleaching powder. The chemical name of bleaching powder is calcium oxychloride, that is CaOCl2. Now whenever you have went to a swimming pool, you must have observed a peculiar odor is there. Now that odor is because of the chlorine gas. So usually chlorine is added into the water as a disinfecting agent to kill all the microorganisms. Now, when we take chlorine in its normal form, that is in the gaseous form, so it is not stable and it is very inconvenient to handle it. So that is why we use bleaching powder, as when you mix bleaching powder in the water, chlorine gas is removed out. So that is why what happens is that the chlorine mixes with the water and it acts as an disinfecting agent. So bleaching powder undergoes a slow decomposition reaction because of the carbon dioxide in the air, and this is the reason why the chlorine gas is released. and as it is powder in form, so you can even handle it properly, as it will be gaseous, so it will become a little difficult to handle chlorine gas. So that is why we use bleaching powder in swimming pools. Our next substance is washing soda. The chemical name of washing soda is sodium carbonate, and it is usually crystalline in nature. Now the chemical formula of sodium carbonate or washing soda is Na2CO3 dot H2O. It also has an H2O molecule with it. Now if we talk about the color, so washing soda is whitish and it is usually odorless powder. When we test it with a litmus, so litmus paper has a blue color. Now this washing soda is also called as, it is having the nature of hygroscopic. Now what is hygroscopic is it can absorb the moisture of the air. You must have observed at home also, if you have washing soda and if you keep it open, the lumps are there after some time. You can see that it has absorbed the moisture and inside the container there are lumps. So you have to store it in an airtight container. So washing soda, it is hygroscopic in nature. Now also washing soda is used to clean clothes, and that is sodium carbonate, that is washing soda, is also used in glass and it is also used in paper industry. So our next substance is soap. We all have used soap, but do we know how soap is prepared? So if you have to prepare soap, we require oil or animal fat. We also require sodium or potassium hydroxide. So what we have to do is we have to take oil or we have to take animal fat, and together, that is either you can take oil or fat, it is boiled with the solution of sodium or potassium hydroxide. So after boiling, the result that we get is sodium or potassium salts of carboxylic acid. And when you touch it, it is like fatty, oilish in structure. And this is called as the soap. The salt which we get, that is the sodium or potassium salt of carboxylic acid. This is called as the soap. Now soap can be of different types. You have bathing soap, you have washing soap. Now bathing soaps are prepared with high grade of fats and oils, and if we have to prepare washing soap, we use low grade of fats or oil.